Welcome to Reliability Matters, a podcast for the electronic assembly industry. Each episode covers topics related to reliability, best practices, and environmentally responsible assembly techniques, with insights from experts across the electronic assembly industry. Now, here's your host, Mike Konrad.
Well, welcome back to a very different type of Reliability Matters episode. I'm not in my normal studio. I am in San Diego, California, at the IPC Apex Expo. So these are little express episodes. I have 4 guests today. Each interview will be about, or each conversation will be about 10 minutes long. So this is just a little tapas bar. It's a little appetizer of subjects that we hope to dive into in just a little bit. My first guest today is Jesper Lykke from Viscom. Jesper, welcome.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to be here as well, and thanks for agreeing to step away from the booth. And I'm sure you're really taking one for the team, having to sit in this comfortable chair. We get to take our masks off for a few minutes.
Absolutely, yes.
Yes. We can milk this one all day long.
Sure, absolutely.
Viscom is a manufacturer of inspection systems, which falls into a very wide category of equipment. Tell me what all that, the different type of inspection systems that you manufacture.
So we basically cover all gates. So everything from SPI, CCI, so pick and place, pre and post reflow. We do X-ray, inline, and manual X-ray as well. So we have the whole line card basically. So wherever you need some sort of inspection, we are there to help you.
And you're the manufacturer of those products.
Yes, we are. So they're all manufactured.
Unlike a company that says, I know where to get one. We'll just stick
No.
on it.
That's our own. Yes,
right.
Absolutely. So
it's kind of unusual. I've talked to many X-ray companies on the show. I've talked to many SPI, AOI companies on the show. I don't think I've actually talked to someone who does both. And
well, that's
now I have.
What's unique about
Check
us,
that
right?
off the list.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
Check that off the list.
No, and I mean, it's obviously kind of sort of related. I mean, if it's SPI, AOI, you want to look at the similar things. I know, of course, SPI and AOI, as in SMT parts, are different, but at the same time, macros and algorithms, they help you out. And if you have that knowledge in-house, then why not widen it up as much as you can on the different equipment?
Let's start with X-ray real quick.
Sure.
My theory, and I've said this on the show before, is that that technology, X-ray, caused voiding in BGAs, because before X-ray, we never saw a void, right? And
yep.
Now look what you've done.
Yes,
right?
now all of a sudden you see it, right?
Exactly. What are the beneficial uses for X-ray versus AOI versus SPI? At what point would just X-ray only work for a specific application? And at what point is it arguable that maybe other technologies could fill in? Or is X-ray just totally unique?
I mean, it's all the above, basically. So, I mean, yes, unfortunately, you can say, well, X-ray is only geared for that or this, but there are definitely a lot of things that X-ray is good for, of course, but there are also some things where you would need some optical, as in regular AOI. So there are pros and cons on all equipment, of course, but the X-ray specifically, of course, I mean, it's obvious, you already mentioned the voids and stuff. So whatever you cannot see with the naked eye, I mean, you have to have X-ray. And these days, more and more components have hidden solder joints or is under some sort of shield or obstructed view, or you want to look at it from the bottom side and top side and whatever. So
right.
There are always some things that you need to look at. And that's obviously extremely hard if you can't see it with your own eyes, kind of thing. So,
and do you offer both 2D and 3D
yes,
models?
Everything is basically fast 3D, so you can call it dim it down and do less inspection, but all machines are geared towards the high quality and fast X-ray.
So you don't have a 2D only machine?
No.
You can use it for 2D applications,
you can, yes.
But it's all 3D capable.
And there are all kinds of different options on the machine, so it's not only one machine, of course. We all offer a wide range, even within the same X-ray, inline X-ray machine. So there are many options, yes.
Well, the whole idea when it comes to reliability, which is the theme of the show,
yes,
is to not have a problem.
Yep.
Number one.
Ideally, yes.
Number two, if you have a problem, contain it in the factory.
Definitely, yes.
So that it doesn't come back as an RMA,
yep.
right? So I know, just a little bit to be dangerous,
sure.
SPI has a really solid purpose, and AOI has a wider purpose. But SPI is one of the technologies that can stop something from being reflowed. So not just can you fix it in your factory, but you can fix it before you have to rework it.
Exactly,
right?
yes.
Because rework is
exactly.
a whole nother can of worms.
Yes,
Some companies
indeed.
will not rework; they'll
Yep.
throw it away.
Yep,
Right?
absolutely.
And at least they avoided an escape, but
Yes.
they still
But it's
cost them-
expensive at the end,
exactly.
right? Yep.
So tell me where SPI ends and where AOI begins. If someone wanted to make sure nothing left their factory, and maybe they can't afford both.
I was going to say, well, ideally they need all machines, right?
They buy an X-ray, they buy everything.
Exactly.
Right. Problem solved.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Very easy.
Yes. But assuming the real world catches up to
Sure.
somebody, that they actually have what they call it, a budget.
Uh-huh.
Assuming that's the case, at what point would you suggest, okay, you should just do SPI? What kind of problems would they have to have for SPI to be the best solution versus AOI or both?
Yep. I mean, it's hard to answer, but I'll try anyway, of course. So, I mean, SPI is, let's say, more cost-efficient way to catch the defects. But at the same time, if you have, again, a lot of hidden solder joints, then you really, really need to make sure your process is 100% nailed in, and it's not. It's never 100%.
That's right.
So it is a risk that you take and say, okay, do I want to invest that extra money in the X-ray equipment to make sure I catch absolutely everything? So let's say, well, if you send a rocket to the moon, it's probably a good idea to find it before you get up there, right? But
all
if
based on the cost of failure.
Exactly, right? Exactly. So it really depends on the product that you manufacture. Or is it like a more, let's say, throwaway product if it doesn't work, or if it's very expensive circuit boards, then of course you absolutely want to make sure that it's 100%. So it really is a lot of the cost and product in mind itself, what it does.
Right. What questions should a customer ask? I'm on the board of SMTA, and
Sure.
we're going to be producing a training series of how to buy equipment.
Okay.
Because many people know what equipment does, but they really don't know how to buy. They don't know what questions to ask. And if you don't know what questions to ask, you might be at the mercy of the person answering those questions, right?
Yep.
So what do you appreciate in what you would consider a smart buyer? What kind of questions should they ask you that would help you? You have an array of products. It would help you make sure that the response to their question is something that will be as plug and play and as useful as possible.
Yep.
Rather than buyer's regret, buyer's remorse later, right? I'm sure we've all been there, right?
Absolutely.
I have in my company. I'm sure you have in yours. So what types of questions would you like to hear from customers that would allow you to respond more accurately?
Yeah. I mean, they obviously would know their own products, what type of resolution, how small of a component do you manufacture, or what type of component do you put on the circuit boards. So that's obviously one. So you would want to have a machine that works with your flow, and at the same time you want to make sure it's future-proof. So if you have a 1206, which is the loudest, the smallest component, then of course you want to make sure that it's ready for 0602 or 0603 or whatever. But at the same time, you also want to make sure that it's a reliable machine. So you want to look at let's say, the quality build of the machine. So when you buy a car, you don't expect to throw it out after a year, or 3 years, or 5 years. You want to make sure it's reliable throughout the whole history of the machine, and you have a return of investment, of course.
Not just reliable, relevant.
Yes.
Right? That's an extra R in our world.
Yes.
Something can work for 20 years because it's very well built.
Yep.
But it may not be useful. I'm looking at someone made a high quality Betamax tape player.
Sure.
Or a 8-track tape player.
Yep.
It might still be working right now, but you can't use it.
Exactly.
Right.
So that's when upgrades come in. So you want to upgrade the machine, even though it's a 5 or 6 or 10 years old machine. Even then, in most cases, we can also offer upgrades. So that's also something you want to look into. Okay, the machine I expect would be working with this specific product for 5 years. What can I do with it afterwards? I know this is obviously further down the line, but it's also an investment. So you spend X amount of money on a machine. You want to make sure you don't throw it out after that product is dead or obsolete. So that's definitely something. And obviously, you want to look into the capabilities of the machine. So as a customer, you would want to have them, let's say, look on the machine more in details, more than just call it a 5-minute show or what we refer to as a paper eval. You want to really look into the machine and select a couple of machines that you want to look close into, and then provide your own products so the machine manufacturer can demonstrate their let's say capabilities on your exact product. We all have our demo boards and they're great, of course, to show it immediately, but of course you want the customer to show it on their products, because
that's all that matters at the end of the day, right?
Yes.
Yeah, very good. I guess this is a dangerous question, but
Sure.
how's the show?
The show is actually, it started okay. I mean, it's of course, as anybody
times,
would
right?
expect, it's current time, so it's a lot less busy
Well,
than.
the secret to a successful show is to have low expectations.
Yes,
right? So
exactly.
I think we all share that.
Yeah,
Now,
it's all good.
I taught a 3-hour course, professional development course yesterday, and we had a room full of people, which
Yep.
was very nice.
Yep.
And I've seen, slower, but
People here, so
impressive
that's all that
traffic,
matters. Yeah, exactly.
all in,
Yes,
all things
yes,
considered.
Yeah. It won't be the same as it was 2, 3, 5 years ago. No,
Right.
but it's here,
Might
and
take
we're
another-
obviously glad to see everybody, and it's good to get out.
It's very good to get out. It's a
Yes.
slice of normalcy. Right?
Exactly. Yeah, you
Well-
learn to appreciate the little things, right?
The little things in life. Well,
Yes.
Jasper, thank you so much for being
Thank you.
on this little express
Yep.
little
Appreciate
nugget of
it.
a show. I really
Appreciate the
appreciate you
invitation.
being here, and I'll look forward to talking to you again when we can have more time and
Sure.
expand the whole subject.
Absolutely.
All
No
right.
problem.
Well, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
All right. My guest today now is Greg Papandrew. Greg, welcome.
Thank you.
It's nice to see you again.
Yes, again.
I'm used to seeing you in pixel form, so it's
Yeah,
nice to
2D.
see you in organic form.
Yes, 3D is nice.
Yes, absolutely. I appreciate you being here. You and I are working on a project
Yes.
with SMTA. I chair their training committee, and we're doing a new 101 training course on board fabrication.
Yes.
We're not teaching people how to fabricate a board.
No, when you
That is not the goal.
right. No, when you gave me the call, it was really refreshing to hear that because we teach everything. You go into a contract manufacturer, an OEM company, you have everything on the wall. Awards and training on how to solder a board, how to package a board, how to clean a board, how to do everything with a board, inspect a board, but not how to buy a board.
Right.
And the circuit board represents 8 to 12% of the bill of material. One of the most expensive parts of the bill of material, the price is subjective, meaning depending on where you go, how many you buy, the technology, the price is different. And there is found money to be had. The circuit board is unfortunately is the last thing ordered, but the first thing needed. And a lot of it's done on a rush. And if a buyer is trained to know what they're doing, they're going to save their company a lot of money, and especially during the quoting process, because a lot of buyers today are not only buying what they need for today, but they're also quoting, and they're quoting like crazy. And you've got a big chunk of money there that if you quote incorrectly, you may not be getting the job, so you're wasting your time, or you quote incorrectly, and when the job comes in, oh, the board's not $2. Oh, it's IPC 6012 Class 3. Now it's a $5 board. Oh, I can't take this offshore. And, well, guess what? Now
Start
you
all over again.
Yeah, and then sales is scrambling because your company just made a commitment. So the importance of training, so right now, like I said, I find buyers today are either, untrained, overwhelmed, or management is not giving them the support necessary to give them that incentive. Hey, what can we do to save money? Because even on existing jobs, where you talk about quality being job one or continuous improvement in engineering, there's not someone going out on the floor and saying, why are we buying this board from this particular house still? It's not a quick turn anymore. Let's see what else we can do. Let's learn how we can leverage our spend, and this is for both domestic and offshore, military, high tech, whatever. And a lot of buyers don't know how to do that.
Right. And, when you think about the bare board, it's the foundation, literally the foundation to which the product is going to be made. It's going to be built on. And then that product is going to go into something, and that something has to function, right?
Correct.
So it is probably the most important basic part of any electronic assembly is the board it's built up on. And in many cases, my experience is it's treated like a commodity. Right?
Yes.
I mean, it's just whoever can build this board for a fraction of a cent a piece lower
Correct.
gets the order.
Correct.
And since the reality is obviously not all, most of the suppliers of bare boards are offshore,
Right.
off our shore.
Mm-hmm.
The buyer is never going to see the production facility. They're never going to be able to legitimize it in their head.
Oh,
And
of course.
they're relying on a lot of promises from a lot of either brokers or salespeople and all of that, right?
Well, no, you make a very good point because even domestically, unfortunately, a lot of buyers today have never been inside of a board house. And sure, traveling overseas costs a lot of money, but a lot of people have not gone to the next state to actually see what's gone on in the board house to get appreciation of what goes into making a board, to make those value judgments of why, hey, I just pulled up to the shop and, oh my gosh, now I know why our board's so cheap or why we have this quality problem. So there's not, and that's, to be fair, they have nothing to compare it to. And even going offshore, it's funny, is people think they're dealing direct. They don't know. They might be dealing with an actual broker over there. So, yes, it might be someone with a Chinese address and everything looks, but it's not actually a real board house. So, are they getting the value that they need?
It might be a guy that has a guy.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And so, there's a lot of, even domestically, they will be, we have a large military type board house here. There are one company buys from 3 or 4 different divisions because they have to. But they don't question how they buy. They don't question, hey, look, yeah, I know we deal with 4 divisions, but we represent this much of your business. And we want to have quality board reviews. There's not a demand from buyers because they don't know what they can do and the power they have with managing their vendor base and giving them the quality that they need. And yes, of course, price plays part in part, but at the same time, it's not everything.
Right.
Because when it comes right down to it, I remember I lost a job of a mere 20 cents, and on 1,000 pieces, okay, it's $200, and I knew the promise that was made was not being kept, and I warned the buyer about that. Well, at the end of the month, the product did not come in, and I said, "Ooh, for $200, wouldn't you like to have made your month?" And that's what it comes down to.
Right.
It's the value knowing that you can rely on a vendor, whether domestically or offshore, and a lot of buyers don't know. I don't think they have the time or understand what's need to be done, and they treat it like a commodity.
Right.
It's a custom-made item with over 100 different processes to make. It's not if, but when a problem will happen.
Right. You hear a lot about counterfeit, particularly in the days of component shortages and supply chain issues. That's really incentivizing the counterfeit market. And we think of counterfeit in components. Is there an equivalent of that in circuit boards? Maybe not counterfeit per se, but maybe not made to the standards or with the materials that.
Oh, yes. Basically, what it comes
you would
down
have really no way of knowing unless you did some metrology studies on the board.
Right. What it'll come right down to is basically material, the base material. Is there, the mark in there? Is there, do you have a CFC that actually shows where the material came from? That's the kind of thing where you'd wonder about, okay, is the material there? Yes, there is chemistry. Do they do what's proper for proper whole wall, build up the vias, things like that. But the main thing for counterfeiting would be, is the material that we ordered being used? Is it the 170 T sub G, as opposed to 150, they slide that in. Would it work? Yeah, probably, but that's not what you requested.
Right.
And, and that's just it. You've got the, we just had that conversation today, we want something down and dirty. Well, you're going to get down and dirty.
Down and dirty FR4, nothing special.
Oh gosh, right. And but it's got to survive all these things. Well, that's not down and dirty FR4. You got to learn. And that's another thing about buying is maybe there are boards that you have a combination of for as a contract manufacturer that can be down and dirty, and other boards that sorry, we can't do that on that. And so you're not building a Porsche when a Ford could get you there just as well.
Right.
And that's, there's nothing wrong with down and dirty FR4. It just depends upon the product.
If the product is a down and dirty product, right?
Yes, but what's the end
short
use?
Obsolescence, a quick obsolescence time, and maybe a little planned obsolescence, maybe a throwaway consumer part.
Well, and and at the same time, that's where I think buyers don't know how to use their vendors or their sales reps, because sales reps don't know. Is I always ask my customer, what is this going into? Or if I see something strange, what is this going? Because what I'm asking that for is because, I'm anticipating there might be a problem. When someone comes down to, what is it going to? Oh, it's this? Oh, okay, fine. And by knowing that, I can understand. Or when someone's calling out this spec, what is this going into? Do you really need that?
Right.
And they're like, well, this is our standard. Well, your standard's costing you a lot more money than it has to.
Right.
So
that makes sense. Before we end, we have to move on. I want to show this book right here. Summer, if you can get a shot of that. PCB Basics for Buyers, authored by the one and only Greg Papandrew. It's a pretty impressive book.
Yeah, you go to directpcb.com to get your free copy, and it's color and everything else as well. Or if you want, you can I'll send you an autographed copy, and that $5 will get you a cup of coffee at Starbucks. But the fact is it's a great tool for most buyers to have. Anyone from receiving to reception, just enough so you understand what a board is, glossary of terms, so to give that untrained buyer just a little bit of an edge of what's going on and what to ask for and look for a quote. Mm-hmm. And eventually I'll have another book called Buying Boards Like a Boss, and it actually gets into basically how you can do your job better.
What I appreciate about you and your company is this book is not filled with if you want good boards, call Greg. There's really no sales pitches in this book. This is really a guide, no matter whether they use you or a million other people out there. This is a guide to how to buy boards smart.
Correct.
And it's not a sales pitch of any kind. So that's impressive.
No, well, yeah. I was going to say.
Well, the fact that you wrote it, obviously.
Well, no, that I wrote it.
Cred, right?
Yes, right.
So you get the street cred part of it, but it's a safe book to read.
Yes, exactly.
If you're not going to find out the answer to every problem is 1-800 call Greg.
That's correct. So, no, it's not that at all.
Right. All right. Well, Greg, once again, great talking to you.
Yeah.
And thanks for being on the show. Right. This little express version. This is Mike Konrad, host of the Reliability Matters podcast, where we're putting on a little express version of our podcast. And my guest now is Kevin Ho from EM Solutions. Hi, Kevin.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. You're an attendee at this show. You're probably grateful to get off your feet for a little bit on these comfy chairs.
Yes, sir.
Tell me how your experience has been walking the show so far.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I'm seeing a lot of new technology. I've been to IPC Apex before, but last year didn't come because of COVID, obviously. So I feel like in the 2 years that I haven't been here, there's been a lot of new developments, a lot of new interesting things, both for my industry, specifically printed circuit board assembly, and also just kind of looking around, seeing a lot of new and different things. It's not as many people as I've seen before.
No, you're not going to bump into too many people, but there's a general flow of traffic, and there is a general level of optimism. You just have to factor everything in with sign of the times. The pandemic. This is California. We're a little bit more restrictive on our rules. But all in all, it's good to see the industry back together again.
Yeah, at least we're having it. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. What else are we going to do? So you have a board assembly house, contract manufacturer, if you will, a CM, as we like to call them. And one of your capabilities is short turn assembly, which is a unique specialty to be able to turn a X number of boards around very quickly.
Right.
Some companies do that very well. Some companies really don't do that very well. And it would be an exception for them to do that. So what makes quick turn assembly unique compared to a more traditional assembly house that is not prepared to do something so quick? What do you have to do differently?
There's a couple things that we've, in our experience, we found that we need to do for quick turn assembly. And I think the most important thing is customer communication. Customers, for them, if they have something specific that they need to communicate it to us right away, because we don't have, 2 weeks to build something. We're building something in 3 to 5 days. And also when we're building something, if something comes up during the process, like we have a question about where does this component go, this component doesn't match, we need them to get back to us right away so that we can keep things moving.
So it's really it's a double-edged sword. They are relying on you, and you are equally relying on them.
Right.
And if neither of you do your part, the board doesn't get made.
Right. Exactly.
Time possible.
Yeah.
How's the supply chain issues? I think about all the parts that are not coming in or are stuck on boats. Just north of us here. When someone wants something very quick, obviously the assumption is all the parts are in stock, right, and available.
Yeah.
Has that been a challenge in the short turn market?
Definitely. Before this, part shortage kind of came about, everything was kind of readily available. So quick turn, wasn't really a problem. While you're getting fab made in, 3 to 5 days, you can procure the parts in that same amount of time. But now what we're finding is even for prototype projects, even if you're only building 5 or 10 boards, 20 boards, certain components are not in stock. So we have to, rely on a lot of our outside vendors to kind of help us find parts. And also we have a strong engineering team that needs to kind of step up and help our customer look for substitution, sub parts.
Right.
Right. And
so normally does the contract manufacturers supply the parts, or do you have sometimes customers give you kitted parts and just want you to do the assembly?
We do both. We're comfortable doing both. We prefer to have control of everything. I mean, who doesn't, right? But if we can buy the components, then, we know that we have the right quantities, we have the right, if something's on reel instead of cut tape, we know everything is good if we buy it. But if a customer wants to consign components, that's totally fine with us. We're very capable of handling that. And a lot of what we're seeing nowadays is kind of a mix between both, where we can buy the more common components, or like customers will have us procure the passive stuff, and then they have their own internal stock of the more complicated ICs and specific things that might be harder to find on market, but they have it. So
here's a hypothetical question for you. It's really not so hypothetical. A few years ago, I was hired as an expert witness in a civil litigation matter. It was an OEM suing their contract manufacturer.
Okay.
And basically, they sued their contract manufacturer for following the statement of work that was provided to them. The statement of work was faulty.
Okay.
And the contract manufacturer pointed that out to them, somewhat subtly. But there was record that they pointed it out. But their customer demanded they do it this way. Anyway, they did exactly what the customer asked for, and the parts failed. And there was a giant recall, and there was a $50 million lawsuit, right, that against them for basically doing what they were told to do.
Right.
So have you ever been in that situation where you have to basically go to the person who's signing your check to say, you're wrong, we need to do this a different way?
Right.
And is that a common occurrence? And how do you handle that delicate task of suggesting to your customer that they let you do it a different way that would provide greater reliability?
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. That's not, I wouldn't say it's a common occurrence. If it was a common occurrence, yeah, that'd be a huge problem. But in the event that does happen, and it has happened in the past, that's where it comes back to customer communication, where it's very key for our customers to trust us and to trust that we and our expertise, we know what we're doing. So when we say, hey, you might want to take a look at this, we might recommend doing it this way as opposed to the way that you suggested it. Having that communication and that trust is really important, so that, because we have our customers' best interest in mind, and we want their boards to work because, like you said,
you want to build more than one. I mean, you want to build more than
exactly
10 quick boards, right? You want to be able to have a long-term relationship with them.
Exactly, right. So I think, for us, it's important in that kind of situation to have our customers trust us. And if they trust us, then we can, hopefully avoid a $50 million litigation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no one wants that. The only people that win in that scenario are the lawyers.
Right.
And the expert witnesses they hire, right?
Like you.
Like me. No one else wins, right?
Yeah.
It's a lose-lose proposition. Finally, what questions do you appreciate a customer asking you to vet your services versus your competitor services? What questions make a smart buyer? Does that make sense?
That's a really good question, and that's something that we want all our potential customers to kind of consider, because there's a lot of things that goes into assembly. I think the main thing is, you should ask, are we a good fit for you, as size wise, technology wise. Ask probably what kind of machines are you running, what's the capabilities of those machines, and then I would say some other things that are important are probably asking about, do we have everything that we need? We love when a customer asks us that question. Do you have everything that you need so that you can build this board to, how we want it?
Yeah.
Right.
It's a comforting question, because then the customer is willing to get you anything that is missing.
Right.
It's your problem.
Exactly.
Right.
It's, and if a customer is missing files, obviously we will reach out to them and ask for these files. But I think, like you said, the fact that they're asking about it means that they're giving it some thought, and they want it to be like a partnership. They're trying to work together to build something, as opposed to just handing us a job and leaving us with it.
Excellent. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for the time. I appreciate your insight into your industry, and good luck at the rest of the show. Hopefully you don't get blisters on your feet walking all the aisles. There's a lot of physical floor space to walk here.
I'll come back on and sit on these chairs.
There you go. Yeah, come back again. Sounds good.
Right, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Kevin.
Thank you.
Take care. Well, welcome back for our fourth and final segment. We did save the best for last. I'd like to introduce you to my favorite pirate I think instead of saying hello, I should say, what do pirates say? Ahoy!
Arr,
Arr.
arr.
There we go. My favorite pirate, Michelle Ogihara, she's with Seika. And welcome. Thanks for coming in at the last very second and being my guest to wrap up this episode of Reliability Matters. I'm glad you're here.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Mike. It's always a pleasure and a joy to be with you.
Well, we're both members of the Mutual Admiration Society. I can say that. So I have seen you in many different costumes at this show. I remember several years back, you were a ninja and you were doing martial arts demonstrations along with the late Donald McDonald.
McDonald,
And,
yes, the great.
The great late Donald. And the two of you were giving demonstrations and slamming people to the floor in your booth before the show opened, and it was amazing. And then other times I've seen you sing a presentation. You actually put your words to music and sang a presentation at one of these events many, many years ago. And today you're a pirate. Tell me about your pirate getup.
This little costume was actually a special request from one of my staff. And because, we've been going through the last 2 months, I had a retinal detachment. And so it was very much a struggle for me in terms of sight. And so to make light of it, and especially the show must go on. And so then I thought I would, wear this costume. And
So the patch has a practical purpose in addition to, an element of your costume.
Indeed. I think it's a little bit better than having the medical eye mask that I was wearing yesterday in preparation and scaring everybody off. So thank you so much. But, that's what it is. I think in this environment, everyone coming up to the show has had to go through PCR tests and all kinds of endeavors and traveling, and that's no fun too. So thank the attendees for coming and showing up.
Yeah, and the exhibitors and the staff behind the scenes at IPC for putting this together. That can't be easy when the ground rules kept changing. And,
absolutely.
It's a moving target, and I think they pulled off as good a show as they could have. California has some of the strictest mandates of all the states, maybe less Hawaii. And
that's true.
It's not easy when you have to get tested or show, proof of vaccine or, and wear a mask and all that. It's no fun. No one wants to do it, but people are here because they have business to do, and it's good to see those that could come, did come.
So they made great efforts. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. You're with Seika. Tell me what Seika builds. It's a variety of different types of equipment, right? So
that's right.
Does it fall into any one theme, or is it?
It's all SMT assembly equipment.
Right.
The top brands, suppliers from Japan. We've been representing them for over 30 years.
Wow.
Here in the U.S., starting out
you started when you were 3.
Well, I didn't start out with them. Yes, it may be pretty close to it, right? Oh my goodness. And but we've had a great time since that time, of course. And most recently, I think during the pandemic time, our customers are really looking to improve their process control. And so I think those items and the quality control equipment, such as the dry cabinets and our viscometers, paste mixers, wetting balance testers, PCB cleaners, like you say, we have over 25 different equipment that Seika represents.
And your PCB cleaners, that's a name that always gets my attention because we're in the cleaning business, but you're in a different type of cleaning business. Your machines use like a sticky tape, for lack of a better description, to pull foreign object debris, lint, and things like that off the assembly. Is that right?
That's correct.
As opposed to like flux removal, you're doing the technical cleaning of the FOD, as we like to call it, foreign object debris.
That's right. That's right. Before the paste printing process to ensure that down the line there's no defects occurring.
Right. Yeah, you don't want foreign object debris or FOD in your solder paste. That they don't gel well together, right? And don't you also make nozzle cleaners too? Is that a thing?
Yes, that's correct. It'll clean 24 nozzles at one time, or up to 80 nozzles depending on the pick and place, the placer nozzle type.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Well, you've always been a wonderful ambassador for your brand, for the Seika brand, as many years as I've known you. And you are also a wonderful ambassador for the other trade association in this industry, which is SMTA.
We're ambassadors for all trade associations, but of course, you and I share a special place in our hearts for the SMTA. That's true.
And how does that work as an ambassador? I see you at many events. I see you promoting the benefits of a trade organization, in this case SMTA, but a trade organization in general. How does being associated with, whether it be IPC or SMTA, how does being associated with a trade organization benefit a person? Say someone's just coming into this industry. We have a whole slew of young people finally coming into this industry.
It's exciting to see that. I saw a lot of it here. A lot of the mentors bringing their mentees, or new employees coming with their bosses or managers, and it's wonderful, actually.
Yeah, I met someone last night at a company dinner that was 24, and I'm like, that's the exact age I was when I got into this industry in 1985. I was 24 years old, and I'm like, this is me, 30 plus years ago. But it was nice to see the young blood. So what's your take on, encouraging some of these younger people coming into the industry to join a trade? I don't want to make this polarized, one trade organization over another. Just in general, what kind of advantages have you seen in your experience being part of a trade organization in terms of how it benefited your career and all of that?
Oh, the networking opportunities are optimal, actually, because generally speaking, the association is made up of volunteers, and the long time experts in the industry are part of that leadership most of the time, and they have the experience and the heart and the interest in being able to bring up next generation. So I think it's a great opportunity. You have a chance to meet these potential mentors for you, as well as potential new employers, and just perhaps also just meeting each other, whether you're in the same generation, and being able to exchange information. I think it's always and you get to have fun. I mean, that's the most important thing. Not that I'm anywhere near an expert in that, but
I've never seen you have fun before, Michelle, ever. Come on.
I think it's important. You have to enjoy what you're doing, and part of it is being in an association that's so supportive. So
yeah, I agree.
Mhm.
It's done a lot for my career over the 30 plus years. I've been doing this.
That's how I met you.
That's
true.
trat
one of these trade shows as well.
That's right.
And that's how we get to be as close as we are. And I absolutely, you're one of the most inspirational and kindest people that I know.
Oh, good. Well, I've managed to fool a pirate. That's amazing. Pirates aren't easily fooled. So, well, Michelle, I really appreciate you being here. It was a delight to find out that you were on my schedule. So I didn't expect it, but I'm happy that you carved out a little bit of time to get out of your booth and spend a little bit of time with me. And it's always a joy to see you. And you are an equal amount of inspiration. The joy that you bring to your booth and the industry is over the top.
1914.
Over the top. Yeah, right. 1914. If you're still on the show floor, if you happen to be watching this on your iPhone while you're eating $20 hot dogs, go over and see the Seika booth. Michelle, always great to see you. We'll see you again very soon.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
And for those of you at home and at work or wherever you're watching this, thank you so much for being part of the special edition of the Reliability Matters podcast. I really appreciate you being here. If you're not a subscriber, you can find our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or virtually wherever you get your podcasts. We also have a YouTube version of this podcast. If you're listening to this in your car and you're getting a little FOMO to find out what this pirate next to me looks like, you can go onto our YouTube channel Just search Reliability Matters, and you can hit the bell icon and hit the subscribe button so you'll never miss an episode. There's enough commercial for me. I'm going to wish you all a very good day, and thank you again to our global SMT friends and family for allowing me to be taking up a little bit of real estate in this booth and producing this show. Thanks again for watching.
Thanks for listening to the Reliability Matters podcast. Join us on the second and fourth Tuesday of each month for new episodes of Reliability Matters.